Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to another installment of our light study of selected Ahadith from RIYADHUS-SALIHIN. And today we'll be looking at the chapter of Al-Istiqamah. قال النووي رحمه الله تعالى باب الاستقامة. So Imam al-Nawawi, al-Hafidh al-Nawawi, in his RIYADHUS-SALIHIN, he brings this chapter which he entitles Bab al-Istiqamah, the chapter of what I like to call religious conformity or religious compliance. And we're going to talk about why we've chosen that translation, which is a little less common, but it is perhaps the most appropriate translation of the word al-Istiqamah. So this Arabic word al-Istiqamah, it has no English equivalent. And the scholars of Islam, they have defined it as أن يسلك ما شرعه الله من الشرائع ويعتقد ما أخبر الله به من العقائد لا يزيد ولا ينقص ولا يبدل ولا يغير ولا يغلو ولا يجفو فمن فعل ذلك فليس مستقيما. So the scholars of Islam, when they have defined this term, al-istiqamah, they've defined it generally as that a person follows the legal rules that Allah has imposed and believes in the theology that Allah has taught, neither adding to nor subtracting from it, neither replacing it nor altering it, neither being excessive in nor negligent towards it. Whoever does any of that is not compliant. So the common translations for the word al-istiqamah are words like steadfastness, uprightness. Most commonly, this is what you will hear even in the translations of the ayat in which this word is used in the Quran. You'll find the word steadfastness, the words uprightness, etc. But after studying the relevant texts and scholarly explanations, it appears that the better translation is, as I said, conformity or compliance, which is the opposite of rebellion or deviation. So basically, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger talk about istiqamah, they're talking about following the deen as revealed and not deviating from following it as revealed to the left or to the right, whether to the left in terms of liberalism and negligence or to the right in terms of excessiveness and fanaticism. طيب, regarding istiqamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, فَاسْتَقِمْ كما أمرت ومن تاب معك ولا تطغوا إنه بما تعملون بصير. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what means conform as you have been commanded, and those who repented along with you, and do not transgress. Indeed, He is ever witnessing of all that you do. So this verse, it teaches us a few things. We learn a few things from this verse. First of all, we learn that istiqamah is mandatory. Following the deen as revealed, without deviating from following it, whether deviating towards liberalism or deviating towards ultra-conservatism or excessive conservatism, right? And we know that's obligatory because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded it. He demanded it. فَاسْتَقِمْ كَمَا أُمِرْتَ. Conform as you have been commanded, as you have been mandated to do. We can also glean from the ayah an implicit implication or implicit indication that we have to study religious knowledge. We have to learn the deen. And we have to learn whatever we need to know from the deen in order to be able to conform. Because how can we conform if we don't know what conformity looks like, if we don't know what it is that we're supposed to be conforming to? So there is an implicit command to seek knowledge of the rules and regulations of Islam and the required belief system of Islam, the required knowledge of theology of Islam that will make us from the people who conform. Because how can we conform if we don't know what conformity looks like or we don't know what conforming entails? So we have to study, we have to learn. Well, you akid that, like there's a number of hadith, a number of ayat that indicate to us that we have to learn the deen or have to learn that minimal amount of the deen that will make us believers, make us true Muslims, make us mustaqimeen, make us from Ahl Istiqamah. And from the proofs for this is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ collected by Ibn Majah on the authority of Anas, in which he said, طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيدَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ Muslim. Seeking knowledge is obligatory upon every Muslim. Why? Because how can you believe if you don't know what you're supposed to believe in? How can you submit if you don't know what submission entails? How can you be mustaqim? How can you achieve al-istiqama if you don't know what al-istiqama entails, what it looks like, and how it is carried out? Now this istiqama, which An-Nawawi has made the topic of this chapter, has many virtues. And many of those virtues have been encapsulated in a single ayah in the Quran. A single set of ayat, I should say, in the Quran in Surah Fussilat, So in Surah Fussilat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a series of ayat, about 3 ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned jumlatan, a number of the fawaid, the benefits, the virtues, the merits, the excellent qualities of al-istiqama and what we stand to gain from having this quality of al-istiqama. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ نَحْنُ أَوْلِيَاؤُكُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَشْتَهِي أَنفُسُكُمْ وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَدَّعُونَ نُزُلًا مِنْ غَفُورٍ رَحِيمٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what means those who say, our Lord is Allah, then thereafter conform and do not deviate from what that necessitates, what that requires. Upon them the angels descend, saying, fear not nor grieve, and receive the glad tidings of the paradise which you have been promised. We are your allies and protectors in this world, your friends in the hereafter. For you therein is whatever you desire and whatever you request. Hospitality from the oft-pardoning, most merciful. So there's a few things, we'll just highlight some of the fawaid, some of the virtues and merits of this quality of istiqamah as mentioned in the ayah. So first of all, the angels descend on al-mustaqimin. The people who are from ahl-istiqamah, the people who have this quality of al-istiqamah, the angels will descend upon them in every situation, every fearful circumstance, in general. Particularly the most fearful circumstance, the circumstance of death. They will come to them, these angels will come to them, and they will comfort them. They will comfort them, console them. So they'll come to you, that's one. Number two, when they come, rather than curse you, rather than tell you what a bad job you did and what a bad person you are, they will comfort and console you. It's gonna be okay. You are going to be all right. Why? Because you are from Ahl Istiqamah. They will also give him or her the glad tidings of paradise. وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. And receive, at the time of your death, you're told it's gonna be okay. There's still a long journey. There's al-barzakh, and then there's al-qiyamah. But you don't have to worry, because I'm telling you from now you are from Ahl al-Jannah. That will put the person in extreme amount of ease and make it easy for them to what? Make it easy for them to then tolerate and be able to get through what is going to come next. Also from the virtues, as we see in the ayah, that if the angels are giving him the glad tidings of paradise and connecting it with al-istiqamah, then that is telling us that al-istiqamah, being from al-mustaqimin, having this quality, is one of the causes for us to enter paradise. So as we are looking at those things that we should develop, those qualities we should inculcate, that we should embody, that will secure for us paradise, we have to add al-istiqamah to the list. That this is one of the ways that we can become from Ahl al-Jannah, by having al-istiqamah. But another benefit from the ayah, or another virtue pointed out by the ayah, is that the one who has al-istiqamah, whoever possesses this quality of istiqamah, the angels will be his friend and his ally. The angels will be your friend and ally. And last but not least, in paradise, the people of istiqamah will have whatever they desire and whatever they request. And so these are just a few of the many virtues of this quality of istiqamah which should make us narghabu fiha, right? We should be eager to find out how can we be from the people who have this quality? How can we develop this quality so that we can receive all of these virtues? Now, I want to close by saying that nowadays we are entering, or we have entered, we are living in the era of highly progressive approaches and liberal ideologies being introduced into Islam. And so therefore, we are more in need of this istiqamah than we have ever been as an ummah. We are more in need of grabbing hold of the pure Islam, Islam in its purest and most pristine form, grabbing hold of it and clutching it close to ourselves and not letting it go. And not allowing ourselves to be moved to the left or to the right by these forces which want to cause us to leave al-istiqamah and deviate either towards extreme liberalism or extreme excessiveness and extreme rigidity. We have to be the people of istiqamah, and we have to understand that this is the time more than ever that we need to be mustaqimeen. And if we don't learn to practice Islam and become keen to practice Islam in its purest form, then we run the risk of Islam becoming perverted and eroding until it is no longer recognizable and few, if any, of its fundamentals remain. And there's some ahadith where the Prophet points to a time when this will happen. And he's saying this to encourage the Muslims in every time and space to be keen not to let it happen on their watch. So in one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, يدرس الإسلام كما يدرس وش الثوب حتى لا يدرى ما صيام ولا صدقة ولا نسك ويسرى على كتاب الله في ليلة فلا يبقى في الأرض منه آية ويبقى طوائف من الناس الشيخ الكبير والعجوز الكبيرة يقولون أدركنا آباءنا على هذه الكلمة لا إله إلا الله فنحن نقولها. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that Islam will become worn out, like the fine stitching of a garment. You guys know, you have a pair of jeans or you have something that you like to wear a lot. And when you wear it, you do some very highly physical, highly, demanding activities. And so the knees get worn out and maybe even some other parts of it becomes worn out. And you can see that the thread is starting to deteriorate and erode to the point that maybe you're going to get to a point where there's no material left in that spot. It becomes worn out. The Prophet is saying that Islam will become worn out like that. It will erode to that extent. حتى لا يدرى ما صيام ولا صدقة ولا نسك, until people will not know what fasting is, what charity, almsgiving is, what the rites and rituals of Hajj are. They won't know anything about that. وَيُسْرَ عَلَى كِتَابِ اللَّهِ فِي لَيْلَةٍ وَاحِدَةٍ, and in one single night, the entire Quran will be stripped from the people until not a single ayah of the Quran will remain. And there will be some groups of Muslims who will remain on the earth, الشيخ الكبير والعجوز الكبيرة, elderly men and women, who will say, we found our fathers upon this kalima, la ilaha illallah, so we say it, meaning the only thing that they will know of Islam is kalimat al-shahada faqat. That's it. No prayer, no fasting, no rites and rituals. How do they get to that point? How do they get to that point? Because they left the istiqamah. They weren't keen to hold on to these religious fundamentals and to safeguard them from being eroded, being undermined, etc. And as a result, they lost the deen. They lost the deen. And the Prophet is telling us this to make every Muslim keen to make sure that in their era, this doesn't happen on their watch. They remain what? Keen to protect the deen, to safeguard the deen, and to be from Ahl Istiqamah. Another hadith similar to that one is the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, لَتَنْقُضَنَّ عُرَى الْإِسْلَامِ عُرْوَةً عُرْوَةً فَكُلَّمَا انْتَقَضَتْ عُرْوَةٌ تشبث الناس بالتي تليها وأولهن نقضا الحكم وآخرهن الصلاة. He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, the ties that bind Islam will be undone one tie at a time, one by one. Every time a tie is undone, the people will cling to the one that follows it. So there will be parts of Islam that will be undone, that will be lost, that will no longer be practiced, that will be undermined by people, and the people of that time were not keen enough. They didn't do enough to protect and safeguard that urwa, that tie, and so the tie becomes undone. And then they'll cling to the next one. And then that won't become undone. They'll cling to the next one. And he said the first of them that will be undone is al-hukm, ruling by what Allah has revealed. And this is not something which is exclusive to the Muslim rulers. The Prophet is talking about every Muslim judging by what Allah has revealed. You're in a situation, and if you rule by what Allah has revealed, you'll get the short end of the stick from a material perspective, not from a spiritual perspective. You never get the short end of the stick by ruling what Allah has revealed, or by ruling by what Allah has revealed. And if you don't rule by what Allah has revealed, you'll what? You will get more of a material benefit. And so in those situations, average everyday Muslims will choose not to rule by what Allah has revealed. This is the first urwa that will be what? Undone. And this is something that we see. It's something mushahad, as they say. Al-Muhim, these are two examples of the Prophet ﷺ showing us what can happen if we don't maintain al-istiqamah, if we're not keen to be from Ahl al-istiqamah. And so with that said, brothers and sisters, we have to understand that what stands between us and this occurring, what the Prophet mentioned, these two hadith, is al-istiqamah, being from Ahl al-istiqamah. And so in the coming chapter, we're going to learn what that means. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will make us from those who will listen to these ahadith and try to inculcate what we learn and emulate and embody what we learn these ahadith, so that we can be from the vanguards of Islam, safeguarding Islam in this time from the people of liberalism, from the people of religious extremism, and keep the deen on the straight path, stay on the straight path, stay in conformity, stay compliant with the deen, pure and pristine as revealed, and get the reward for that, and also safeguard the Islam for our future generations. Until then, until we meet again, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as always to bless you, to bless your houses, to bless your spouses, your children, to bless your wealth, to bless your health, and to make you blessed wherever you may be. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those who listen to the talk and follow the best of it. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those who He teaches beneficial knowledge, and who He truly benefits from that knowledge by making us from those who put it into practice. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.